Hi, have you heard about Bitcoin? Not Bitcoin, but Bipcoin. Bravo, India, Papa, Coin. Bipcoin is a new cryptocurrency that you can start mining today for free on ordinary computers. Unlike most altcoins, Bipcoin is not a clone of Bitcoin. Bipcoin is based on entirely new, more recent, and better code called CryptoNote. So unlike Bitcoin, Bipcoin has truly untraceable transactions, does not require specialized mining rigs, and has adaptive limits. Plus, Bipcoin is the only cryptocurrency covered by the BitCot no government license. This allows use and reuse by anyone except governments and government agents. If you're still kicking yourself in the head for not getting in on the ground floor of Bitcoin, start mining, using, and trading Bipcoin today.
Not a guarantee.
Mining Bipcoin costs you nothing but the electricity to run your computer. And we already take Bipcoin for stickers and buttons. Go to bipcoin.org. That's bipcoin.org. Once again, that's Bravo, India, Papa, Coin.org.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BitCot no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jeremy with a note about the episode you're about to listen to. Unfortunately, this week we had a bit of a recording snafu, and my recording ended up cutting out at two separate points during the show, so I had to piece together the recording that Dave has with the recording that I have so we could give you an entire show. I only mention this because there is a slight sound difference between the two recordings, and I did put a couple of pauses and beeps in there to denote when these changes are happening so you to be aware. And I just wanted to let everybody know this because we have been working really hard to improve our audio quality. I know things went really south for a while, and I've already apologized for that. And things were going smoothly again. This, like I said, unfortunately was a recording issue, not necessarily an audio quality issue. But we did the best we could, and I hope you guys still enjoy it. Thanks for being patient with us, and thanks again for sticking with us for this long. We really appreciate it. I mean, this is episode 91 you're about to hear, and if somebody told me a couple of years ago that I'd have 91 episodes of one podcast already in the can, I would have told them that they were out of their freaking mind. So we really appreciate it, and enjoy the show.
It is slavery, it's just a different name. A lot of people don't realize what it is, and when we bring these ideas to light and make people realize, that this government force is the problem.
And to me, it's like I say, imagine you're an abolitionist in the 19th century, and these slave masters are giving you the same exact argument. Who's going to pick the cotton?
Hey, Seeds of Liberty. Read the show's description, please. Fervently complete the course, report him to the infantry. Finish him, deconstruct the fallacy. Seasonal production means it seems to spawn a tragedy. Peep the action, please. A fraction of the allegory. Corollary cadences complaining on a sadder story. Menial.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Seeds of Liberty podcast. This is episode 91. As always, the Seeds of Liberty podcast is covered by a BitCot no government license. This allows reuse by anyone except governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org. So this week, we have our friend Andre Kiro returning. Hey, Andre, how you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been going... I mean, I've had a rough patch the last couple of months, but I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure to be on the show, so I'm excited to be here and talk.
All right, great. Well, it's sorry things have been so rough, but if it's looking up, we'll take that positive and run with it, right? So,
hell yeah.
Usually the way my life goes.
That's right. Yeah.
So this week we had a couple of things we were going to talk about. For starters, the whole Bitcoin market has been going crazy lately. It's been very exciting. I know, Dave, you've been prognosticating and talking about your past prognostications and kind of needling everybody and said, hey, remember when I told you to buy at this amount? Remember when I told you to buy at this amount? Remember I told you to buy at this amount? Yeah. And I think Bitcoin actually did reach an all-time high at some point yesterday, I believe. Or did it actually eclipse the all-time high?
No, no way, no way.
No,
it was all-time high was 1,400 and something.
Was it really? No.
Yeah, it was. It was over 14.
It was only like that for like a day.
I thought that was just like one trade that went through at that, and then.
Well, yeah, but that's
I
the
don't
all-time
think so.
high though. So
Yeah.
I mean,
it maintained a higher rate.
You're not talking about a.
hey, look, all I'm saying is a win is a
parabola
win.
here.
That's all I'm saying.
It's a win. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so it topped out, I think, around 1150, somewhere around there yesterday, 1160, somewhere in that neighborhood.
1140 something. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then it just boom all the way to like 800, really, like 890 something.
Yeah, overnight it took a 200 plus, dollar wise plummet, and I saw that today when I woke up. It was somewhere. I think the low on my little widget said it got down to like 879, and. Of course, all the people who still, because I still see people running around claiming that Bitcoin is a scam and we should all be avoiding it.
I look at it as like a stock market kind of thing, and when I tell people to buy, if you notice, I rarely tell people to buy Bitcoin. When I say buy Bitcoin, every time if someone was following me with $100,000, and every time they've said buy Bitcoin on Facebook or Twitter or whatnot, they would already be worth. Oh my God, I don't want to know. Lots of money.
That's the problem, though, Dave, because while you've had a very lucky streak when it comes
mine
to this
are
stuff,
based off of world events, though. I only say buy Bitcoin off of huge world events.
Well, I know
that
but,
I play.
But that's not the point. The point is the point is the person with $100,000. Because most of us are not carrying around a couple $100,000 that we can just go, oh, Dave said it, let's go out and buy. Because when you said it last year around this time, because it was last year around this time when it dipped all the way down. It dipped all the way down. It actually the lowest point it got to during that cycle, I think it dipped all the way down to 160, and I missed it because that was another one of those overnight things. And when I woke up the next morning, it had jumped back up to 220 again. And that's when I finally decided to say, okay, Dave's been bugging me about this for over a year now. I'm finally going to take him up on this. And I went ahead and I purchased myself 4 Bitcoins, I think, before it went all the way up before it crossed
And now you're
250.
pleasantly happily sitting on a little bit of a nest egg, huh?
Well, yeah, for now, but it's also a great time. Last night was an awesome time to spend it. Because I did a live.
I'm not spending.
No. In little bits, though. I last night I did a live transaction on the air on the Freedom Fiends, and I sent Michael some Bitcoin for a flag that he had. Because he was already sending me a bunch of other stuff for free, and he, jokingly asked if I wanted the flag, and he's like, "You'd have to pay for it, though." I'm like, "Well, actually, I don't have one of those yet. I'd like it." And he said I could send him a PayPal thing, or I could send him Bitcoin, or I could send him Bipcoin, which I'm actually sitting on a very decent amount of Bipcoin at this point. Which also
you need to get me in on that Bitcoin.
Yes, I do. I was about to ask because I'd heard of it.
Okay,
and I need to get into it.
For people who are listening,
I'm on my computer right now.
For people who are listening, you will hear the commercial. It's usually the first commercial I play before every show. For bipcoin.org, and you go to bipcoin.org, and it tells you not only how to get yourself the GUI wallet, which is now available, which most crypto note coins. Which is what Bitcoin is, which Bitcoin is not. Monero. What was it? Monero. Namecoin might have been one. I think Namecoin might have been one of those. Or no, Namecoin was a Bitcoin clone. Or no, it was a crypto note coin. So stuff like that. But it also tells you, in very easy instructions, how to mine Bitcoin, because it is still possible, very possible, to mine Bitcoin, where it is almost impossible to mine Bitcoin right now unless you have a ridiculously powerful computer. I was actually mining Bitcoin at the beginning on my 2 little crappy laptops, one of which only has like 2 gigs of RAM and only like a dual core processor. It's like 8 years old. And I was still mining Bitcoin with a decent regularity, even though I was only getting like, I think, a 17 hash rate on that thing.
I've got a really old laptop. I'm going to set this up when
the only thing you have to do if you set up a laptop, which I learned, is I got a box fan. And I just set up a box fan on my table, and I put my 2 laptops in front of it and ran them simultaneously, and the box fan kept them cool because it will overheat because it's a mining software, so it's very labor intensive. So it will you will blow out your fan in a hurry unless you keep it cool. So that's what we found that out. Me and somebody else tested that theory out. We put box fans on our tables, and it worked beautifully. And I just kept the box fan running behind my laptops at all times, and they stayed cool enough to run. And it's still like, it's now obviously a little harder because there's more people involved in it. There are I think there's at least 2, possibly 3 now, very good, reputable mining pools that are attached to Bitcoin. And
yeah, I saw that. I'm on their website right now, and they have a whole. They have like 5 or 6 listed.
This Bitcoin was my real foray into cryptocurrency because I was saying at Dave's pestering, I finally listened a year ago and got into Bitcoin, but I didn't really do much past getting a wallet or two and learning how to purchase it, and then making a couple of transactions, accepting Bitcoin from a couple of people for a couple of services I provide, for dog services I provided, and then giving some donations in it. Other than that, I really didn't learn much. And then Bitcoin came along, and I had the opportunity to be there literally on the ground floor as it was starting. And I got to learn all about mining and all this stuff. And it was for me, and Michael W. Dean also talks about this publicly too, that it really is. Bitcoin's a pretty good coin for people to get involved. Like if they have no experience
yet. I just
yet.
need an online wallet for my phone.
Well, there currently isn't one on the phone yet. That's the one thing that's missing. But like I said, there is a GUI wallet.
No, there's a Bitcoin price widget, but never mind.
Yeah, there's a widget. There's not yet a mobile wallet there, but like I said, there is a GUI wallet, which Monero even, which is actually the biggest crypto note coin at the present moment, still doesn't have. Although their focus is not getting one, but Bitcoin was able to get one out to market, and it works, and it's really simple. Because again, the whole point of this is if some idiot like me can figure this out, it's really not that complicated. So.
Yeah, that's not true. And I will confirm your
and Michael exactly and Michael and Derek Slopey, who are the 2 main creator developers. They have a couple others now, but those are the 2 of the originals. They put a lot of work into, especially Michael, writing a very
Microsoft started in like a garage, man. So
Well, but see the thing that this was started out as a joke. I mean, I've talked about it on here before that, Michael even said it himself. Like originally this was set up as like a joke coin. It actually started as a joke on the show. And then it was just like, well, why don't we do this? And then it became, people like, it was going to be like, we joked, said it was going to be like the Dogecoin of the crypto note of the crypto note world, but cooler. But
does it have scarcity?
Well, yes, it does. That's the thing. Unlike Dogecoin, it does have a finite amount. I think it's set at 18. It might be 20 million. I'm not positive, but it's somewhere between 18 and 20 million. Somewhere around where most of the other coins are set. And the other awesome thing about Bitcoin is it is attempting to and already looking like it's going to be able to accomplish the one thing that Namecoin set out to do that couldn't, which is decentralized distributed DNS services. So you would be able to set up websites that will not be able to be taken down.
I saw that on the website.
Yeah.
I saw that on the website. That looks really promising.
Well, that is why some people with some serious clout in the crypto world have actually started taking Bitcoin seriously and looking at it and go, hey, wait a minute. Like, this isn't just a joke anymore. Like, you guys are actually trying to do something here. Because Michael and Derek, Michael especially, was big when Namecoin was out. He was ecstatic about the idea that they were trying to pull off with the distributed, DNS services and stuff. And they failed miserably at it. Like there were so many holes in their idea that they set it up.
Well, there was too many chiefs.
Well, yeah, because people were able to squat. Well, because they set the price at a fixed amount of Namecoin. So people were able to squat all the domains. Like I think a couple of people ended up squatting like every noun in the English dictionary as a domain name.
Serious?
Yeah, like and they also had the problem that nobody was able to view the websites because
that's a huge problem.
And Michael and Derek went ahead and created a program that made it possible for them to do this and gave it to them. And they still managed to screw it up. And then they kind of like, I think they kind of like acted like Michael didn't try to help him. It was a whole big thing. So they, Michael just left them and said whatever, and he was just trying to offer some help. And a couple of years later, when this opportunity came up, it's like, well, we already have this fix. We could start out this way instead of trying to implement it later. So they've already have all this stuff figured out, and they've already announced that they're going to be rolling this out. And it's looking pretty good. It's looking really positive. So this may turn out to be a really big thing. And again, right now it costs pretty much nothing to get involved, even if you just want to take a chance on it. Because like I mined like 5,000 to 6,000 bips, I think. During the first couple of runs with no problem at all. And anybody with a halfway decent computer, which will blow mine out of the water, could still probably do pretty decent right now with mining them. And it's fluctuated between it's normally rest, I think, at like a penny and a half. But it's taken a couple of spikes. Some crazy things have happened. I think it
might just blow up overnight, though.
Well, it could.
And see, the thing is, like, I would like to mine because I'd like to get involved in that aspect of it. But just based on the fact that they want to do no censored domain names and do decentralized DNS, I would love to dump money into buying Bitcoin to help fund it.
Oh,
I would not mind investing money into Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, I did purchase a little Bitcoin myself, but yeah, I think it's because again, you can buy a decent amount for not a lot of money, and there's also ways if you actually want to help Bitcoin, there's ways you can donate to the project itself and try to get it to go further. And again, it may not take off, but this is something that a lot of people were excited about, the whole DNS thing, where a lot of people were excited about with Namecoin. And when they weren't able to produce, like to this day, they still really aren't. Like they got very offended.
That's the key.
Namecoin actually
is when bloggers can put up websites that no one can take down.
That's right.
That's the key.
Well, yeah, but exactly, which is why it's so imperative for people in our position.
Well, it's tying the coin. It's like, okay, great, we have Bitcoin. What can we also do with Bitcoin? Oh, we can also host a DNS off of the entire blockchain infrastructure that's there as well. Sweet. Okay, now we have the internet and all of the money decentralized.
Yes,
no one can stop it. No one can control it.
And yes, and because Bitcoin, not to be confused with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is on the CryptoNote code, it is actually anonymous, where Bitcoin and the other ones really aren't. Well, yeah, but that's the whole design. Like the CryptoNote code, from what I've learned, because again, I was a complete novice when I got into this, works just a little bit differently than the Bitcoin code, the code that Bitcoin is run on, and the code itself was designed to fix some of the holes in Bitcoin. And from what I've heard from a couple of different people, there seems to be quite a bit of evidence that the original, what was it, what was the guy, the name, the pseudonym of the person,
Satoshi
Nakamoto.
Yeah, there's evidence that that person or people had a hand in helping with the fixes before they disappeared forever. So like that's why Monero has been getting so much buzz, and that's why it was also when Bitcoin took that, started taking that rise over the past couple of days. Monero has actually been climbing again too, and for a crypto, there's only like I think not even maybe a dozen CryptoNote code coins out there in the 1,000 cryptocurrencies. But Monero, I think, was poised to jump up to number 4 overall.
I don't know, man.
It's on that path right now. So that's pretty impressive. And Bitcoin,
what is this Dash? Does anybody know does anybody know what the Dash is?
I haven't. I've only heard a little bit about that one. I've heard the word scam tossed around about that one a few times, but I haven't gotten too far into it.
It just showed up on one of the apps I use. It just showed up that I could trade in Dash. So
yeah, it's another newer one. I don't know if that's an actual coin or if that's more like, because isn't Ethereum doing something else with stuff that's not actually coins?
Ethereum is doing some crazy stuff, man. I have not really delved into that entire thing.
Yeah, well, they're doing other things.
Basically, it's a computer that you can buy tokens to basically tell it what to do. So it's basically like, imagine everyone in the world controls a computer if they have money to do so with it. So it's almost like they can vote on how the computer does things. That's kind of crazy.
Interesting.
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm all about new and innovative.
That's like
right.
That's like an Uber breakdown of the whole thing, but that's basically it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said,
then they created the DAO. I can't remember the decentralized. It's essentially a decentralized exchange. Like no one owns the exchange. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Although I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Like imagine
I get what you're saying.
Coinbase with no CEO, no owner.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I don't.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting. I haven't looked into it enough. I know a lot of people are excited about it. A couple other people I've talked to are kind of iffy about it.
I mean, I may be completely wrong on all that, but that's what I've surmised from both of those.
Yeah, well, I only learned a little bit about it, 'cause the fact that they're doing things other than coins, because that was the whole thing that caused the last spike in Bitcoin last week. I think it was something through Ethereum. So it wasn't a coin, but it was a service or whatever it is. This token, it works on this token thing that Dave was talking about. Started trading on a couple of exchanges, and they ended up using the same what is it, the symbol as Bitcoin, BIP, even though Bitcoin has been established for months now, and there's supposedly a list of these things that you can kind of go check when you're going to start a coin to see if it's already being used by anybody else, if you want to use that particular symbol for the exchanges. And this thing called BitPark something or other, I think BitPark coin or something like that, but it wasn't actually a coin. It was really weird. Ended up doing it, and because they did that and got on some exchanges, and because other people are excited about that, but just bought things that said BIP, the price of Bitcoin like tripled, I think, in a matter like overnight. And anybody who had like been like me, who got in early and has like, a decent amount of bips, could turn around and make an actual decent amount of money for like literally nothing more than the electricity it cost to mine him in the first place, which was minimal for the amount, and because it went all the way, I think it got to its high mark of like 4 cents, which is still pretty great for a currency that, for a cryptocurrency that not only is only a couple of months old, but has also been, there was an attempted killing of it twice on purpose, and it just wouldn't die. It's like,
wait, what do you mean it was? What do you mean?
Well,
somebody? How did that?
Michael tried to shut the project down a couple months in because it was getting way too crazy. There was literally only like 3 guys on the development team. Only 2 of them had ever even worked around cryptocurrencies before. The other one had no idea about cryptocurrencies, just had ideas of like other I think engineering stuff that was going to help them with other parts of the project. And they just, he decided to say, it was too much. And instead of trying to like keep it afloat and hope that, the development team would show up before it just collapsed and people may have got invested in the project or whatever and then lost money, he decided to do the right thing and say, we're not going to be able to do this right now, so we're just going to close. We're just going to, we're closing Bitcoin down. We're not going, we're not going to proceed with this any further. But a couple of people continued mining it, which kept it alive, even though they had shut the nodes down. It kept it going. And when Michael went to go look, like a week or 2 later, he just happened to go check something, and all of a sudden he's like, "Wait a minute, why is the blockchain continuing to move? Like, what's going on?" And he went to go look, and he's like, there's still people like mining, like, holy crap, it's still here. It hasn't died. And so the project was revived, and that went on for a week or 2 before he said, no, this is like, I don't know what I was thinking. It's still like, we're still not ready to do this. Like, just because it's alive, we can't. So he tried to kill it again, and it still wouldn't die. So when the third time, he just decided to keep going with it. And that's when the push for the distributed DNS and all that stuff started. So, yeah, it's like people may look at it and go, "Oh, 3 or 4 cents, that's no big deal." Well, no, for a cryptocurrency that just like is unsinkable at the present moment, like literally the creator tried to kill it and it just wouldn't go away. And and it has all this other potential.
God tried to kill its creation and it stayed.
So, like I said, I think it's definitely worth, I mean, like you were saying, Andre, I personally think it's worth buying a little bit of it because you don't really have to spend much. I mean, right now you could still spend $20 and get what's that? 2,000 bips.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, you know,
I
you could
mean,
totally
if they're
do
a
that.
penny a piece, you could get 100.
And
you
it
could
is
get
on
1,000 of them easy.
yeah, and it is on a couple of exchanges because that's I think Cryptopia I think is the one exchange that it's on that I know for sure because that's actually where I got my Bitcoin because I was actually able to trade Bitcoin for Bitcoin, which was cool because that was another first for me. So, and yeah, and
which is one of the things I was thinking of doing actually because I mean I don't have a whole lot of Bitcoin. I got into it when it was like 530 because I didn't take Dave's advice because I was like, oh, I have other things I need to spend my money on. So, but
And I was telling him
I
by
have
$20 a week. Just do it. $20 a week.
I know. Shut up, Dave.
yeah, but see, Dave, I took that advice at first, and then I actually panicked, and it was a good thing I did because when I panicked was when I started buying everything in a hurry, and that's when the price ended up shooting all the way up and never coming back down again.
Yeah.
So if
Well,
I had
you saw
continued
the
to follow
fuse
your
was lit.
advice, I would have been okay. But I was much better off because I took your advice for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I just got in panic mode, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy a whole one. And then I was like, yeah, all right, I'll go back to buying $20. And like a day later, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to buy a half one. You know, I'm just going to buy 1.5 right now. And okay, I'm good.
So, like, you know what's beautiful about Bitcoin? You know, no one's really thought about this aspect, especially not in, like, obviously the drug world really yet, as far as, like, at the street level and, like, the complete nomenclature within, like, you know, street level drug use. If this was just common use, like, if every drug dealer was like, nah, I'll only mess with Bitcoin now, the world would change basically overnight. There's no way that anyone can take that money if they do it right, essentially.
Well, but that's the problem if they do it right. And I think if you're gonna, I mean, not that we advocate this type of stuff here at the Seeds of Liberty, but who am I kidding? I advocate it all the time. But if you're gonna do something like that, if you're gonna go ahead and try to make a push for the undocumented pharmacists going towards going towards a push for Bitcoin, maybe you'd be better off pushing them towards a crypto note coin instead, so they'd actually be more anonymous.
Well, it's got to be flawless, you know. Bitcoin isn't there yet. I get that.
I didn't say that, but Bitcoin isn't.
No, I get what you're saying.
But Bitcoin isn't anonymous, and if you're looking to push an entire industry, which I agree with you, it is an industry that definitely would be a game changer. Something on that level, getting a push to switch towards anything, basically anything other than the U.S. dollar or any other fiat currency.
Yeah,
like getting an industry of that size to make a push to switch to that could very well be a huge game changer, because, you know, some people may end up actually, you know, you want to put a positive spin on this for everybody. Some people may actually straighten their lives up because they either can't or don't want to get into the whole Bitcoin thing, so they just can't get drugs anymore, and they have no choice but to straighten their lives up. There you go. You get a win there. Otherwise,
they're forced to get into it.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, their addiction is.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Otherwise, yeah, but not even just people that are addicted. Anybody who uses quote unquote illicit drugs recreationally, anybody like that who would still want to do them, you know, to relax, to do whatever it is, you know, somebody like me who's a regular cannabis smoker, to people who use psychedelics,
or maybe they don't have insurance and they have to buy like Indian medicine on the black market. I gotcha.
Whatever it is, you know, if you get that entire industry shifted towards that, and where it's secure, where it's more secure.
Oh, it's just a trust thing. Like, I mean, think about it this way. If you get pulled over and you got, I don't know, $100,000 in the back of your car and it's all drug money, you're done. See ya. Sayonara. Good luck. But, like, let's say they pull you over and all you have is a cell phone that you just conveniently forgot the password to, or snapped in half before they got you and you just remembered the password later. Like, think about the transaction, just like crossing the border. Like, what are they going to, like, scan your entire phone? Well, you can encrypt it. You could take the battery out and throw it in the back of the car and just say, oh, that's a dead cell phone.
And that's actually something I wanted to touch on, because, as I'm sure you guys are aware, most drug busts don't happen to bust for drugs. Like, the ones for publicity do, like, oh, my God, we busted, you know, 100 pounds of weed. But really and truly,
No.
most drug busts happen after the transaction has already occurred, because police departments and law enforcement agencies in general are allowed to keep the money that they get when they do these raids and when they do these drug busts.
Yep.
If there's no U.S. dollars, if it's on a cell phone that they can't get into, they don't have anything. And now suddenly that huge incentive revenue stream that they had to bust for drugs just disappears. That would be enormous. That would be huge in handicapping the police state.
You could get your Bitcoin password. You could download it. You could go buy a burner phone. Put mycelium on it. Write your code down from mycelium down on a sheet of paper. Go put it in your great grandmother's Bible at your granny's house. Hide it or something, somewhere no one would ever look, and do all the business you want. And if anybody gets that phone or is going to jack your phone or whatever, you could just toss it in the river or something, or break it or whatnot. And just go, oh, all I got to do is go get my wallet, essentially. Like, it makes you essentially unwallet jackable. Like, no one can come up and mug you, essentially. Somebody could be like, oh, give me your Bitcoin stuff. You'd be like, I do not know it. It's 12 different words. Like, you're going to have to kill me here, I guess.
Yeah, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do.
I don't know my password.
I'm just going to have to try, and, good luck. It's awesome technology, and I think really, I don't think enough people have really put enough thought into, just how revolutionary blockchain technology is in this respect.
You're right.
Especially in what we're talking about, for
this is just one thing.
Pharmacists.
This is just one thing.
Exactly.
Unregistered pharmacists, exactly. This is just one thing.
Yeah, it is just one aspect.
This isn't, the guy selling hot dogs could be doing this on the street. The guy, running a taco truck or a food truck could be doing this. Like, anybody could be doing this.
And those security features translate to everybody. Now, if you're a jeweler that only deals in Bitcoin, what are they going to rob? Yeah, they can rob your physical jewelry, but you're not going to have $100,000 cash on hand.
Nope.
Well, yeah.
Although I think that's amazing.
Although I don't know if that's the greatest analogy, because with those people, the jewels are actually usually worth a lot more. But the original one you were talking about, like what Dave was talking about, like a taco truck driver, somebody who would normally be carrying around a bunch of cash on them.
Yeah,
constantly.
or a delivery driver.
Exactly, who's somebody who's going to have a good chunk of cash on them, who's always going to be a target for people who.
Yeah, POS with Bitcoin is just a tip of the iceberg right now. It's going to be to where you can set up arbitrary limits to where it dumps the account after so much. So, even if someone did jack you, they'd only be jacking 10, 15, 20 bucks, just trying to correlate into, stuff people would understand here. But things are going to get wild in the future. It's going to be really hard to steal from each other. And that is the key, that's the key. And government is theft, so once they can't steal efficiently, they're going to go by the way side. Well, just know socialists can't price anything correctly because they run on theft, not on profit or a bottom line. So it's tragedy of the commons all the way to the top. Just go down to the DMV, watch how it operates. Just know every level of government works exactly like that. Even the ones doing evil, dirty shit, they are that inefficient.
As someone who is in the Army, I can vouch for this 125%. 25% more than 100, I promise.
Yeah, I think that's partially by design, though, right? It's supposed to be inefficient.
No, it's just they can't be efficient because they don't run off of a profit.
They definitely could. Well, they could be a lot more efficient than they are. But then
you wouldn't have political appointees in places to pay for political favors.
Well, well, exactly. I'm saying they could do it.
Yeah,
but they're not going.
No, yeah, 100%. They could be dramatically more efficient than they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be more efficient.
The system is designed in such a way that political appointments, being what they are, they're traded like currency for power. It's power brokering.
Yeah.
So
you're absolutely right, Andre.
Oh no, I agree with that.
I mean, just look at the McCain and Soros picture that I just sent you, Jeremy, earlier. I mean, Jeez Louise, that guy.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Now, what did you say? What did you say that you were saying before the show that McCain?
Well,
now has a
McCain
new
is now
position?
protesting that Russia did hack the election, and his only proof was that they were celebrating that Trump had won. When I don't know how close you guys are following. I was following with a microscope. I've literally pulled completely away from politics since. I don't even really keep up with it as much as I did last week. Even it's dwindling. But I was heavily paying attention to Vladimir Putin at that time, and he was saying if Hillary Clinton gets elected, it's going to most likely be war, just to her vernacular and what she's saying in her speeches.
Yeah.
And when a foreign leader, we can talk about all this, whatever, but when a foreign guy is saying, look, I control this entire army, basically, and if you guys elect this person, it's going to be war. Please think about this. What do? You have to look at things, realistically here. It's not a shock that Trump won this thing. You have basically a lot of evidence mounting up on the Democrats basically rigging the election. The WikiLeaks that came out today is ridiculous. All of the evidence that Comey and the FBI were going on was supplied by DNC contractors, not even by themselves. So, the whole thing is a rig job. And what was Russia going to do in that situation if Hillary would have won?
Well, I still don't think that means they have anything. They actually had anything to do with the election.
I think it had a lot.
I
think Russia's position on Hillary had a lot.
I don't necessarily think so, because I've said multiple times. I think I said it on this show a couple of weeks before the election that I had changed my mind, and I realized that I was wrong. And not only was Trump going to pull this out, but I was predicting not as big, but something like a Reagan-esque landslide. And
I think he did get that, man. I think that they tried to hide it.
We talked about that before. That I think he easily got 60-40 easily. And
I think it was way more than that. And I'm not even really a Trump fanboy. I'm
being conservative. That's a lot of manipulation, though, for them to be able to, a lot of manipulation, because they fudge
look
the
how much
numbers
the
as
media
it is.
was manipulated, man. It's crazy. It's
Well,
not.
I don't
Not
even-
even
I
real
don't even
life
think- I
when
don't
you
even
watch
think-
the media. It's insane.
I don't even think the media is manipulating it. I think the media is just parroting things. I said this earlier today to somebody. I think we were talking about this the little conversation I had with Marky, that it's not the media that's misleading people, that's leading the charge for the divide and conquer. People are doing it to themselves. They've been programmed for so long to do that the media doesn't even really have to play a part anymore. They're now more of a lagging indicator in that they're just parroting what they're told to parrot, and they're parroting what the politicians are already parroting, and the bureaucrats are already saying in the first place. That's all they're doing. They're not really I guess if you look at it from a certain perspective, is it covering up certain things? Yes, but I don't think it's I don't even think that's the intent anymore. They just they don't know what else to do.
I'm with you on that. I don't think there's any sort of creative thought going on. They take whatever they're given and just distribute it.
Yeah, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's you got to imagine at least most of the heads of these companies see the writing on the wall and are we're losing ratings, we're losing all this stuff, everything's shifting to this alternative media, we're getting our asses handed to us in this regard.
Yeah, economic reality can't be ignored for these people.
The only thing we can do is go down with the ship at this point with these people. We have to hope that they, the government can save us, basically.
Sunken cost fallacy. We've invested so much time and money. We
Exactly.
Can't go back now.
Let me ask you guys a question:
return.
Is NBC, MSNBC, and CNN going to be too big to fail?
Of course,
Probably.
Oh yes,
Without a doubt. I don't see it going any other way.
No, they'll never fail
really
because
don't.
Disney owns them or some shit like that.
Does Disney own them?
Disney owns NBC, Universal.
Oh, really?
Disney owns everything these days, doesn't they?
Yeah, basically.
Well, I mean, they own Marvel Studios. They own Star Wars. Yeah,
That's just not right.
Just look at the Marvel movies before Disney owned them, and
well,
then after.
you know, there ought to be a law against that. There really ought to be a law against that.
Yeah. No, there just ought to be. There ought to be less laws so these people couldn't do this in the first place.
Exactly. There should be more competition.
Disney's a wonderful example of like what government can do to destroy people, because he's the whole reason that
Copyright.
Was it copyright?
Yep.
It was because of him, right?
Mickey Mouse. Yep.
Basically, yeah. And every
it used to
time
be
it came
8 years,
every
or 3
time
years, or something.
Yeah, no, and every time it came up for renewal, mysteriously the number of years that copyright was good for got extended every single time. To this point, it's up to like what, 100, like 90.
No, it's 88 years, I think.
Yeah, so it's absolutely.
And then
insane.
it's up for renewal. It's up for renewal.
Yeah.
For another 88.
All to protect one guy. You know, so like Disney's a wonderful example of government.
Well, it's one of the greatest tools of the fascist state. You know, I think America. Well, I don't know who came up with the patent laws first, but that is some serious fascist state hand. Like, because then they can just basically let people monopolize certain things and give the government excuse to just enforce this monopolization. So thus increasing their strength and power. To be up everyone's ass about their business to make sure they're not encroaching on someone's patents.
Well, exactly. That's you see that with you see that with copyright stuff, and you see that.
And
with
I hate these. I hate these motherfuckers because it's all it is. Well, how are you expecting people to make money? It's like, well, keep your invention the secret, and then be the first to market with it. That simple.
Yeah, that's something that like hardly anybody ever
look at Apple
bothers to think about.
Even if Apple didn't have the patents,
yeah, if you're the first one to bring something to market, you have a monopoly on the market. Like you're the first one with this product. Nobody else is selling this.
Isn't that what part of what a natural monopoly is classified as?
That's one of the only ways that a natural monopoly can form is by default when you're the first innovator in the marketplace, and that is a huge profit motivator.
Well, you're trying to monopolize your body.
Everybody seems to just want to discount this and be like, oh well, that's not reason enough. Like, bullshit it is. Bullshit it's not. Like, if I have an idea and nobody else is doing what I'm doing, and it's popular enough that I have investors on board to help fund my idea, then clearly it's going to have some traction. So if I put it out on the marketplace, I'm going to make a ton of profit. Sure. Or at least the possibility is there. So, like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's just a matter of, okay, well, now I need to take additional steps to make it much more difficult to either copy what I have or make it much more difficult, or have some sort of prearrangement, like contractual agreement for distribution, so that way it doesn't just go all willy-nilly and everybody has one and everybody's just copying it.
Well, not only that, but it also creates the excuse. The patent laws create the excuse of, well, he's doing it too, so I've got to do it. It's like, well, you almost have to do it to protect yourself, because if not, someone else will just go patent your stuff.
Somebody else is going to.
Yeah, exactly. So it creates almost a tragedy of the commons with this government baculum. Sorry, that's deep. It basically lets anyone who has, the right conditions to control the government force the way they deem necessary. Hey, we spent this much capital on this idea, so I think the government should protect it. That's bullshit. You protect it. And
it's funny. It's funny that we're talking about this because I have a conversation, or I made a post and I had a conversation with a friend of mine about 4 or 5 days ago, because somebody posted something about Nikola Tesla, and as you guys know, Nikola Tesla pioneered alternating current, which is what
basically
we use
everything
for virtually everything today. But thanks to Thomas Edison and his reliance on government thuggery to essentially marginalize him and shut him out of literally everything, we had to rely on DC for a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
If that hadn't been the case, we probably would have been decades ahead of where we are now in terms of our electronics and electricity and how all of our day-to-day electrical devices function.
Oh, imagine if Tesla had streaming video that couldn't be stopped on a decentralized DNS, you know, and he could just stream all of his inventions and no one could stop it, just something like that. Just imagine the smart guy, the guy that happened to just be born with like a 190 or 187 IQ that, he's afraid to tell people stuff because the minute he does, he's gonna, some government's gonna kidnap him and put him in some lab or something. So there's people out there like that need an uncentralized platform, and it's amazing that it just popped up out of nowhere, just because a couple of people were working on something else. It's so wild how things work.
Yeah.
You know what else is wild? When you ask a question to decide between like a couple of different options, which one is worse, and the people responding don't respond. And they're like, well, A, B, and C are shitty, so why don't we talk about D? Like, that's not an option. Please don't pick fucking D. Do not pick it. It's not a fucking option. It's not part of the question.
Well, then you got to start putting that in your post. Put D, not an option.
But that's implicit in the question, though. Like, sweet Jesus, like, how bad is your reading comprehension that you can't understand the question? Like,
just
God,
read
the most
anyone that
aggravating
responds
thing
to
in the
my
world.
posts, man.
I know. We all deal with it, but my God, for whatever reason, this week just it got on my nerves to no end. And like I see, people on my friends list doing, asking questions and stuff and trying to get some sort of input, and it's all just like non-responsive gibberish.
Yeah,
I'm just like, why? It's
well,
not hard.
I'd love to have this discussion if you weren't such a, an idiot, an imbecile. So this conversation really isn't even worth my time. So I'm going to just keep moving along with my dissonance. Thank you, sir. That's basically how I feel like they're talking to me.
That's exactly what it is. Like, oh, well, your question is shit, so I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. Like, thanks.
Let me know when you want to talk about real shit.
Yeah, appreciate the effort, guy. Thank you. That was great. It was very enlightening.
Well, here's how conversation works. I talk and then you talk, and then if I ask a question, you respond to it. Usually, most people are like, you're an idiot, and walk away. Like, would they do this in real life? Like, if someone was like, hey man, what do you think about this? Would they be like, I'm sorry, I'd love to answer that, but you're too stupid, and just walk away? Like, if someone's too stupid, it should be very easy to explain. So just.
And I think that some of these people, this is actually how they engage in conversation with people. Like any sort of, deep conversation, not small talk, obviously, because small talk is small talk.
That's why I just go straight to the spaceship Kafka trap immediately.
Why do you hate space travel so much?
Yes, immediately. It's not worth having a discussion with most people. Just go ahead and ask them why they hate space travel, and then make the conversation about that. And if they ask anything else, just ask them why they hate space travel. You monster! How could you keep us enslaved on this planet with these damn commies? God Almighty. Anyways,
well, here's what really blows my mind. Right, so voluntarists, anarchists, and ANCAPs. All of us, we champion the use of reason and logic, right? Because reason and logic presupposes that you want a peaceful outcome, and we're all about the non-initiation of aggression against people, right?
Yes.
Correct.
It's like they assume that if you ask, because it's always been on questions about like policies that the state implements, like, oh, okay, which one is worse, or which one do you think would cause less harm? It's like they have this aversion to answering the question. Because in their minds, they're like, well, if I say one is worse, that automatically means one is better than the other, and that means that I'm supporting it and I'm advocating for it. Which goes back to the whole, advocacy versus, preference.
Taxation is theft. You can leave. That's my current geographical location has nothing to do with the argument that taxation is theft.
Yes.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nowhere. No. It wouldn't matter if I was on the moon or on Squax Gone 7. If I say
Where
taxation is theft,
7?
it's in the.
Point to that for me on a map somewhere.
It's over in the Anarchotopia galaxy. You guys just missed it.
Damn. Why do you hate space travel so much, Dave? If we
I
had
don't,
collective,
man. It's just
if we
these-
had
it's these
collective
people over
space
here.
travel agencies, if we had a global space agency, we would have been there already. Why do you hate space
You know
travel
what?
so
If
much,
we
Dave?
would have just had it to where some billionaire could have collected, I don't know, a shit ton of money, capital, and scarce resources, he could have probably just financed himself to the moon already. And after he does it, then he can go, oh, yeah, all we got to do is pop out 1 billion of these and I'll be more rich of a billionaire or whatnot. And then everyone will have one. The horror!
That's not true, Dave. That's not true, Dave. Without the state, there is no space travel.
But, you know, with the people
if we didn't have NASA,
blowing shit up.
If we didn't have NASA and if the USSR had never invested in the space race, we would have never left the Earth. Okay? That's a fact. Because I'm saying it is. Fact. Hashtag fact.
Where
Hashtag
they're trapped because
truth.
of their lack of communism. Humans.
Anyways.
Yeah. That's such a silly argument.
It is. It's incredible. I
love
just
it.
like
It's
every
my
other
perfect
instance
Kafka trap.
of state control over things.
Yeah, well, it was always a, you know, it was always a it was never a valid argument, but like, especially in this day and age, when you have somebody like, say, Richard Branson, who was totally willing to do all this crazy stuff, and was like, hey, I want to do this, and it's like, yeah, all you had to wait for was the technology to get advanced enough that it had become cheap enough that somebody with that kind of money would be like, hey, yeah, I would like to invest in something like that. You know, just like anything else.
Because look, these guys are wanting to set up mining companies. These guys are wanting to set up energy companies and mining companies and resource companies out on different planets. That's the first step, guys. Like that. Then mining colonies come up from there. Gathering colonies come from there. Then societies, if you will, come from there. That's how things start. And like the more we waste our time dilly-dallying on motherfuckers' pensions, it's like it just blows my mind. Blows my absolute mind that we've humanity has gotten itself in such a quandary, a little situation. We can't even get off the planet yet because, you know, it's the parable of the crab taken completely to the nth degree. Because the minute, you know, a rich enough family can go, yeah, we're just going to move to this planet and deuces, the world's going to be a lot better.
Well, yeah, because all the rich, greedy capitalists will go ruin another world, leave us pleased to ourselves, and free us of, you know, capitalists' influence.
No.
The proletariat will be free, comrade.
Yeah,
the
proletariat what will happen
will be free.
Is colonization will lead to, you know, people moving out. Will lead to
proletariat revolts all over solar system. Solar system will be free of capitalist evil influence.
There's more to globalism than meets the eye here. There's actually galacticalism, and you got to watch out for these galacticalites.
Do you have the documents?
I have the documents. They're out there. They're space lizard galacticalites, and they're trying to dominate through the proletariat the entire galaxy.
Oh, man.
Anyways, I got some water filters if you guys want to buy some.
Thanks, Alex. I think I'm covered. I'm all stocked up over here.
Nonsense. You can always have more space water crystals.
Who knows, man? I'm really excited about space travel, though. I think that communism or, you know, state action has held that back for a long time. You know, it's almost like humanity is too scared to experience certain things, so we stop ourselves from experiencing it. Like socialism is one of those things that does that. It like slows things down.
Yeah,
because like
definitely
they can't sit, like they always have to build a system of regulation behind their control or whatever. They can't just ride the lightning like capitalists have to and like just respond to the market. So that's why we're stuck, you know, with, you know, the same rocket ships from like, you know, the 2000s, or, you know, they're having to borrow like space parts from Russia and shit. And like private companies are making stuff because government can't do anything right. So the minute you essentially privatize space travel, it's going to be done. It's over. Everyone will be out there.
Well, I hope so, although it's still not completely privatized yet. I mean, it's pretty much. I mean, is there anybody else other than SpaceX out there right now? And they're. I
mean, there's got to be a few that we don't really know about.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
always
a couple of
private companies.
I can't remember their names, but SpaceX is like the biggest one right now.
Well, yeah, and that's because Musk gets a ton of subsidies and
press.
No, but he also.
Well, there's a ton of people that get a bunch of subsidies, get zero press, and you'd never know about it. So.
Yeah, that's true. It's something I wanted to touch on real quick, which it makes me laugh anytime anybody tries to bring up the argument that, oh, well, without, state subsidies and state funding, this could never happen. The whole reason why we got to the moon was because of competition between two actors. Now, granted, they were both governments. It was the USSR and the United States. Like, I totally understand that. But it was a simulation of market actors trying to compete with each other.
Yeah, it was that. You
Essentially, right? They
well, no,
created.
I mean, like I said, I mean
market,
the things that the reason and the end goal was not anybody's actual preference. It was entirely propagandized. But the way that it functioned and the reason why there was this huge boost and interest and huge jump and leap in technology for space travel was because you had two actors trying to outdo each other, which is what you have in a market economy.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, but that's what you have in a market environment. You have multiple actors trying to provide the same thing or provide the same ends for consumers, and they will constantly try and one-up each other by making it either lower cost, better quality, what have you. But it increases options and it drives innovation. So to say that, oh, well, the only way that we can move forward is with a state or with like a global cooperative for space travel, like that it completely defeats all of the experience that we have with it.
Exactly.
Competition is what's going to drive innovation. Competition is what drove innovation in space travel in the first place, even if people don't want to, add two and two together.
Well, the first colony on the moon will be a private one, for sure. No way. It'll be a
private for the
agency
proletariat, for mining space rocks.
Yeah. Well, I'm not necessarily sure of that. I mean, probably it would.
Spasibo, comrade.
But I do like the point you're making, though, Andre. That it is. I mean, yes, you're right. It's government, but it is. It's essentially it was a simulation. It's still competition, and competition. It always drives innovation. It always will, because that's what it helps spark people to try things they never would have even conceived of. Because they're in a race against time for whatever the end goal, whatever the prize is. Like, they're in a race against time, like with other people, and they have.
And that was just two actors.
Yeah,
and that was just two actors. Imagine if you had like hundreds of.
There was hundreds of thousands of actors, but two state actors.
Yeah,
well, no, I understand, but they acted as
the competition
as an
point
aggregate.
was the competition point was that it was two actors. The reason there's not more people doing it is because there's regulations you have to follow, even though how government.
It's great.
It's bad enough that government lays the people that call themselves government lay claim to these certain geographical regions on the earth, but then they go ahead and claiming rights to like being able to leave the planet, and because there's regulations against.
We gotta make sure it's safe for you guys
You're
first.
Free to leave, but you have to pay us first.
Yeah, there's like stuff
we gotta make sure it's safe for everybody. Yeah, we gotta make sure no one gets hurt. Let us do it first, then Daddy government will say if it's okay. Okay.
Okay.
So if you,
this competition, that point is great. You know what's great about this Bitcoin though? Like, if somebody comes along and is like, hey, you know what Bitcoin could use? This. They can do this without anyone's permission, because no one will trust a coin unless it's open source. So essentially, you have to lay your dick out on the line. So it's kind of amazing, actually.
It'll be longer than yours.
It's just kind of amazing that things just can't be stopped now. The innovation can't be stopped, and the internet is allowing that. And pretty soon, the internet won't be able to be stopped anywhere on the globe. And that's going to be pretty wild.
It's a hell of a time to be alive. It really is. I could not have picked a better century to have been born in.
Space travel.
Yeah. See, I often always thought I was born in the wrong one, but yeah, you do kind of have a point with this type of technology, with the stuff that, heck, the stuff I've already got to see.
The nation state just might become obsolete,
Well, I mean, hopefully that's the hope, right? I always say it, and I think we've said it a bunch of times on the show, that most of us don't usually expect to see anything like that in our lifetimes, but you do never know with the advancements as rapid as they come. I mean,
That's
It
the
really
beautiful
is.
part about human ingenuity. It is infinite in its ability to take things and to take problems and issues that may not have even been considered before or considered impossible. People will find a way to work around them. People will find a way to turn resources into more and more efficient ends and means. Human ingenuity is the driver for everything good in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
That was a good stuff, Andre.
Well, I mean, I think it was a Tom Woods episode. It was a Tom Woods podcast talking about the Malthusian trap.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like on the anniversary of the bet between God, I can't remember their names. But it was one of the guys that pushed for and pioneered and made popular the whole like overpopulation bullshit nonsense in the
that guy.
70s. Yeah, and then it was a detractor. It was a guy who had the complete opposite view, and that was what his entire argument hinged on. Was like human ingenuity makes all of these issues not issues.
Yeah.
If we have resource
It's only through a socialist eyes.
Yeah.
It's only through a socialist eyes does this overpopulation like become a scare thing, because they only see the eyes through a collective, we humanity, not realizing that they are an individual.
That's right.
We individuals, we talk about voluntarism is the best to deal with each other, That's it. It's that simple.
Individuals will always rise to the task of finding ways to make do with less, with different, with completely new. Like that is the one guarantee that you can bet on.
Yeah.
Moving forward, like on history and in the future, human ingenuity will solve the problems that face anybody and any given population, any given group.
Yeah,
like
someone's going to come out. It might not be Bitcoin. It might not be Bitcoin. But there's going to be something that wraps up basically everything into one thing. And it'll probably be called something silly, but who knows. But it'll be something like email, Facebook, a coin, and decentralized DNS, which is, how people go to websites and stuff, guys, for the non-speaker, something like that, to where none of that can be stopped, and then the blockchain, which is basically an unfuckwithable ledger. No one can mess with this ledger. You could say Bob owes Tom 11 apples, and then the next line could be Tom paid Bob 11 apples, and 100,000 years from now, if somebody has that on a file, that's record. So no one has to. Deeds now can be set in stone, essentially, to families.
Smart contracts.
Yeah, to families.
It's fantastic.
No, there needs to be no government to decide these things, no arbitration to decide these things. All of this can be automated now. All of these ills that we've had to appeal to authority for are gone. And humanity's going to wake up to this. It's going to take us talking about it and pushing it out there, and individuals saying, look, this is working.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. 100 years ago, if you had told somebody, oh, you can access all the information, that's ever been parsed around the globe, anywhere in the world, from something the size of your hand that runs on a battery.
They call you a witch.
Smaller than your pocket. They'd be like, you're out of your mind.
They wouldn't even believe you. Well, big towers.
You can get them for like a couple $100.
They wouldn't believe anything you said. Yeah, you're exactly right, Andre.
Like it never ceases to amaze me. Everybody who says, "Oh, well, that's never going to happen," or that's just a complete that's utopian nonsense. That could never happen. That's impossible. That's completely infeasible. Yeah. So was every modern invention and every modern convenience we have 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. Hell, even 50 years ago. The difference in technology between now and 50 years ago is insane. It's unbelievable. And people will still try and sit there and tell me, oh, well, that can't be done. Like, no, don't let the world be limited by the limits of your own imagination. Like, don't let your world fall victim to your own lack of creativity. Because that's all you're doing. All you're doing is subjecting the world to your own bland preferences.
Yep. Exactly, Andre.
I agree. All right. Well, on that note, we should probably get wrapping up.
I feel honored to have closed out.
My name's Dave, and I'm here to say... Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Wrapping up. Sorry.
Way to ruin it, Dave, after Andre had finished it off so nicely. But anyway, Andre, do you have anything else you want to say in closing before we get going, man?
No, man. Like I said, it's been a pleasure being on here. I love being on here with you guys, and I love the conversations we have. I've never a dull moment talking with you guys.
Well, Andre, I'm a big fan of you coming on here. Like I said in our messages, you literally can come on here whenever you want. So, just take that for what you want, man. I really like you. You're a solid dude, and I really like what you're doing with the sci-fi stuff, man. The culture has to be made.
Well, I'm gonna work on it. That's my next task is after I finish my fantasy novel, my quote unquote magnum opus. It's back to sci-fi and back to my serial and back to building and fleshing out that universe. So the work goes on. Yep. It never ends.
You have to create your memes and put them into existence, man, so they'll spread.
I'm just a humble meme farmer.
Tending to my memes. Aren't we all? All right. Well, Andre, as always, it has been a great conversation, so I do appreciate you coming on, man. And yes, I echo what Dave said. You're welcome anytime. So
always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Dave, anything else before we go?
Just check out Jeremy on like the Freedom Fiends and Anarchy Action and like the Seeds of Liberty and like the Little Berts and like
basically
I think that's all I'm doing.
Nepos TV and
I think the only time I've been on Napod TV is when it's been inadvertently when
I'm just trying to stack up here. I feel like you're on like every show in the world.
I don't know about every in the world. There's a lot of them just in our little universe alone. So I end up on a lot of those. But yes, well, thanks for the plugs, Dave. I appreciate that. Well, this has been the Seeds of Liberty podcast. All of our information can be found at theseedsofliberty.com. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.
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 Recently reading into the thesis here, mirroring the people who completely fail to see it though. Seeing is believing, yes, the reason is appealing most. Reading enemies is just enables you to see it too.
Now that you put it that way, I have the answer to that question. It's projection. That's what it is. It's not a cop-out to call us utopians. They're actually projecting their own self-hatred onto us.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, go with AgoristHosting.com. Sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows user modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.